Hello students, my name is Dr. Fatin Hazwani. I'm from the Department of Applied Mechanics and Design, Faculty of Mechanical Engineering, University Technology Malaysia. Today I'm talking about mastering the discussion chapter for your FYP thesis. Now let's first take a look on the organization of the discussion. In the discussion section, we have two main parts, that is to review the main results where you connect to your hypothesis and purpose of your study. And the second part is to explain the processes behind the results, where you explain all the possibilities and the unexpected results, compare with other researchers, and you explain all the limitations of your experiment. Now this is an example of the discussion. If I separate this discussion into two parts, it is clearly that you can see the first part is to review the main results and the second part is to explain the process behind the results. Now let's take a look at the first part, to review the main results. To review the main results, we connect the introduction and the discussion. How we do that is by answering your objective. So you might have learned that at the end of your introduction, you have to write all the objectives or your aim of your study. So in this example, you see that the study aimed to determine all the goals. And in the discussion section, you only have to answer your objective, where you start the discussion section by writing all the findings. Alright, so you can see the example here. The findings from this study is answering all the objective. Now the second part. The second part is all the processes behind the results. Alright, so this is an example. You can see here it interprets the meaning of the result. It explains the reason behind the phenomena. So for example here, the animals tend to spend more time. It displays the behavior indicating of relaxation. Relaxation here is the reason behind the phenomena that the animals wants to spend more time. And another example is the behavior associated with stress. Stress here means that why these animals spend less time. So this is what we call as the possible explanation. And then you might want to explain all the unexpected result that you get. So you can use those words, for example, somewhat surprisingly or quite surprisingly. Because in our experiment or in our simulation, in our research, we sometimes found the unexpected result. So you have to explain why it happened that way and all the possible explanation behind that. And we also need to compare with other researchers. So it means that we have to cite the papers from the previous researchers that might have done similar results to us. So we want to compare the discussion between our results and their results. And also, there are some possible explanation as well. You have to elaborate more, and you can use those words. For example, it is possible that, maybe, perhaps. So those are the words in order for you to explain all the possible explanation. And here again, you can see this study compares all the results with other researchers in order to validate their discussion or their results. And finally, we have to explain the limitations of the experiment if you have. For example, you might have human error in your experiment or technical error in the experiment. You have to explain why it happened that way, or further work is needed to do or to improve this limitation. So you can see that actually introduction and discussion are related to each other. They are related in opposite way. So for example, in introduction, it starts with a wider research topic. It goes to introduce about your result and the details of your study, where you actually write all your objectives and your goals. But for the discussion, it starts with answering your objective, in which it is the details of your study, and now it discusses more on all the possible explanation behind that phenomena, and then it goes to wider research topic. Another important thing that you have to remember in the discussion chapter is the English verb tenses. So we know that we have all the simple, continuous, perfect, and perfect continuous English verb. But in the discussion section, we only use the simple present and simple past tense. For example, here, for the simple past tense, we use this when we want to give the details of the experiment, or we want to compare with other researchers' results, because all the details of the experiment has been done and the researchers' results have been published. So that's why we use the simple past tense. And for the present tense, when we use it when we want to report all the findings of the research, or when we want to state the facts. So it means that when you want to report the findings that happen right in your paper or in your thesis, you have to use the simple present tense. Meanwhile, when you want to state the facts as well, you have to use simple present tense, because that is the fact that is ongoing until today. So this is the example of how you can use the present tense and also the past tense in a sentence. So here, findings from the experiment show because showing is happening right now in the paper, so we use the present tense. However, for this case, it says that underestimated, because you underestimated um, this this result when you are doing the experiment, when you were doing the experiment. So it means that the experiment was done in the past and you underestimated it. All right, so you get the result. So that's why you have to use all this present and past tense, and you have to be very careful which one you have to use. Um, and another thing that I think is important in the discussion is the hedging. Hedging is used to make our confidence level clear, because we want to say for something that are not 100% true. So hedging has some techniques that you can use. For example, when you want to um, say something that you are not sure about it, you can use may, might, could, or even you can use some weaker verbs. For example, you want to say show, but instead you can use suggest, so it weakens the verbs. And also when you want to explain some possibilities, you can use probability, or it is possible that, it is likely that. So because you want to show to the reader that your interpretation is not 100% true, but you cannot use all the hedging all the time. Sometimes you are sure about your result, but sometimes you are not sure about your discussion or your interpretation. All right, so another example, when you observe something, you can say seem to, appear to, or tend to. Okay, so this is the example in the discussion that they use all those hedging words. For example, here the findings from this study suggest. So it means that this author interpret that the findings from this study show something, but they want to weaken the verb. And you can see how maybe means that this author doesn't want to show, or doesn't want to claim why the the reason behind that is because of this. So they use the word maybe, right? So you can use all these words for the hedging, and it is very important to use hedging in the discussion section. All right, so I hope that you understand um, how you can write the discussion section or discussion chapter in your thesis excellently, and so that you can excel in your thesis. All right, so that's all from me. Thank you very much.